A quorum is present.
Okay, thank you. You've had a chance, I hope, to look at the minutes of the December 3rd, 2021 meeting. May I have a motion to accept those?
Also move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, corrections? No? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Maybe I should have stayed longer at the coffee pot because then we'd have filled out the whole committee. Been more robust. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Today we're going to discuss undergraduate enrollment strategies, and we'll also have 3 action items, changes in programming. Provost Kornblue, are you ready to begin with the undergraduate enrollment strategies for 2022 to 2025?
Yes, Governor Gaffney, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me start as well by thanking the CFO, Dave Mazeron. We have been working really closely together. There's been nothing more sort of enervating for the faculty and the academic side than the fact that we've had to go through cuts year after year after year. At the same time, the university has grown. So if you look over time, the university budget has grown almost every year with a little blip down with the pandemic, and yet our expenses have grown more than our revenues. So we in the Provost office, we've been working really closely with David to try to get the information we need to develop a strategy to get us out of that cycle and to plan long term. And so what we want to talk with you about today is our enrollment strategy on the undergraduate side. So this is our largest single revenue stream, but it also cuts across many of our strategic goals outside of money. At the core of what we do is educating a new generation. We're committed to social mobility. We all are really proud of the fact that Wayne State is a university that, we stand out dramatically nationally to be a research university that also is an access university. Our percentage of Pell eligible students is striking, and it really it's at the core of what we do. So our goal here is to develop an enrollment strategy at the undergraduate level that can give us revenue growth. We need to know exactly what that revenue growth needs to be to get out of this cycle of cuts, and we have a much better sense of that than before. We're looking around a 2% annual growth, which we believe is possible despite the fact that the number of 18-year-olds in Michigan and the nation are going down. So Ahmad took over as Vice President for Academic Affairs, Student Academic Affairs recently, and he has been working across our whole team to develop these strategies. So I'm going to hand this over to Ahmad, and we hope to have some discussion. So I'll say this, and I know he's going to say it as well. You can raise your hand and stop him through this as well.
Thank you, Provost. Hello again. As the Provost stated, this is really in the spirit of the collaboration that you've been hearing about and seeing all morning. This was really developed based on feedback and input and observations that I've had since I've assumed this role. And we're starting. I'm going to start with this some new definition of some of these concepts that we've been dealing with. When we talk enrollment historically, or at least in practice, we've only looked at it as enrollment, new students, and particularly for the big part, freshman enrollment. We want to change that. We're approaching this as really an enrollment as a life cycle, student life cycle experience. When we're talking about enrollment, this is when we start, when we're starting to engage them, prospecting, when they're juniors and seniors, and sometimes even prior, all the way through graduation and beyond. So what happens to them when they graduate? Graduate is of course, an important metric for us, but are we really helping them with that social and economic mobility? Are we getting them that new job? Are we getting them into a graduate school? So those are the things that we really want to think about, and that's how we're starting in creating and looking at enrollment and engaging the whole campus community in working on enrollment. This is not just a provost office and staff responsibility. This is something that we want to share across campus with our schools and colleges, with our faculty. We want to share the success, but we also want to share the responsibilities, because it's going to take all of us to get there. One group cannot do it alone. And with that, so what some of the things that we've been really thinking about and talking about and started implementing is really fostering that culture that is committed to growth and supporting the student life cycle across the duration and the experience at Wayne State University. We want to increase and diversify our enrollments. With the trends that we talked about this morning, with the demographic changes that we have, we know it's not counting only on new freshman students is not gonna do it for us. And the need and the demand is there. People talk about the new learners, who are the adult students. So how are we responding to their needs? How are we supporting their needs? This is something that we're going to work on aggressively. Transfer students are also a very important aspect of us. We currently recruit about 30 to 40%. They represent 30 to 40% of our undergraduate population. And we're doing, in the scheme of investment in transfers, very low compared to other investments, and we're getting that 30% and 40%. So what if we invest a little bit more in that? Can we grow that number, and can we support more students that way? I'm looking at listening to the governor the other day, and she didn't even talk about 4 years. She only talked about community colleges with the Michigan Reconnect and all the investments. So we're seeing that locally, but also nationally. And of course, international students, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, there are opportunities there. An American degree is still, a US degree is still the gold standard for many students across the globe. And we want to make sure that we get our fair share of those enrollments. As we look at the student success is at the heart of a lot of what we do. We have made some great improvements, but we are not there yet, and we are not satisfied, and we're going to continue that work. We still have a lot of work on the disparity side. There are still disparities between the graduation and success rate for our overall students compared to our African American and other minorities. So this is something that we're going to continue to invest in, and looking also at a holistic view, and again, engagement more of the members of the community, the campus community, in those efforts. Curricular and program needs with student and market demand. We are, of course, the value of higher education is important, and we need, we are not there just to get people jobs, but at the same time, we need to highlight that aspect of getting the value of that aspect of getting an education. That's what is the talk about now. That's a lot of the students who are pursuing a degree or seeking additional skills are looking for, what does that gonna get me after I get it? Is it gonna get me a promotion? Is it gonna get me, can I get into a new industry? Can I get a better job? I mean, so those are the things that we have to look at. And I mean, just simply from a business sense, if nothing else. But I think it goes also with our mission of supporting economic and social mobility as well. So we want to make sure that our programs are responding to the needs that are that the workforce around us is facing. And so with that, we're going to focus on where we have strength, and we have some amazing strength. And as Professor Beal mentioned earlier, we need in the previous her comment earlier, we need to connect and make sure we highlight the strength of our faculty, the great program that we have, and how do they meet the new demands of industry and the state talent needs. We are doing some amazing things in alternative energy and autonomous vehicle and electric vehicle. Well, how do we translate that into programs that meet the needs of GM and other employers who want talent and who have workforce needs? So that's something that we will be focusing on and working on. Alternative also degrees. That's why we thank you for approving the proposal to give us the flexibility and the pricing and packaging these programs, because that will help us address those needs as well. And then the voice of the faculty. All of this cannot be done without really strong engagement with our faculty. They are the ones who have access to the students, a lot more access to the students than we do in administration and staff. They are the ones who are teaching. They are the ones who have the pulse on what's coming, what's happening in industry trends. They are doing the research. So we really want to make sure that as we grow and develop all these programs and pursue all these strategies, they are represented. They know how we can, they bring a perspective that is very important and must be there as we pursue all of this. And they have to be our partners in these efforts. How does this translate? So we're gonna also, into actual practical things. So we're gonna expand and integrate high impact practices into the student life cycle. So we currently offer internships and we offer study abroad and we offer research opportunities for undergraduate, but they're really disparate. And so we would love to be at a point where if you come to Wayne State University, we have these lists of 6 or 7 best practices that can help you. And we want you, or the expectations that you're gonna get at least 4 or 5 of those. You're gonna check that and we're gonna help you get them and go through them, and we're gonna guide you through all of that. So that's really, is important, is valid, and we're doing it, but we're not doing it cohesively, and we could do much better in that way. We need to promote and tell our stories better. Our marketing team does an amazing job, and we have done a great job in promoting the university and what we're doing and the impact that we have. We need to invest a little bit more now in multimedia. We need to do more online advertising, and I don't know how about you, but every time I'm on any social media, LinkedIn or Twitter, I'm getting bombarded by instances from other universities that talking about their programs. We need to do that, and we started to do this, but of course resources are an issue, and we are working with and partnering with our marketing and communication teams to really figure out ways where we could do that more effectively and expand on that. And we're gonna need David to help us with funding on those to support those efforts. We also need to work on pursuing a market segmentation. So a lot of our market segmentation strategy, a lot of our efforts have focused really kind of one size fits all, and part of it is because of resources, but we really need to get a little bit more sophisticated in our recruitment plan and aligning the recruitment plan with the academic programs and targeting specific areas, specific locales, specific audiences with specific programs. So that has something that we have not done that. We have not done a lot of that before, and this is something that I think is going to be important if we are to really create those steady pipelines of students and manage them and help them, not only help our bottom line, but also help those students who are enrolled to get to where they need and they want to be. And as part of that, we're going to need to invest and work on how do we effectively use financial aid to support those goals and to help us with the net tuition growth. And we've done a good job in maintaining our discount rate at a steady level and reasonable level, but we could do this. I think there are some opportunities to really use it even more strategically and to help both with the recruitment, but also with the bottom line. Governor Kelly, you asked several times this morning about the staffing level. I mean, this is an area, particularly when it comes to enrollment where we need the investment. We attribute a big part of our success, student success, a while back when we invested in advisors. That helped us really kind of push the needle. Our needs are continuing to grow, and we need to invest in there. But also, more importantly, we need to invest in our sales force, which is the admissions counselors. And we have half of, when we compare ourselves to some of our competitors, and we tend to be on the very low side. We have 6 or 7 counselors, but others have 12 and 15 counselors at other universities. So this is an area that we need to do to really invest in. But also, as we invest in, we need to look at those roles and figure out how can the way we have counselors work. I mean, they do an amazing job, but also that market is changing. So when we used to go to a community college and wait in the have a table in the library, that is changing. So now we are working with the advising team in there, and so the scope of those responsibilities are shifting, and so we're going to be looking at ways to also evolve those roles to help us meet the needs that we have. So how can we increase advisors and counselors who can work with our adult students, both on the recruiting side and the advising? So those are some things that we're looking, but we certainly, bottom line though, we need to invest in that, and to use a business term, that sales force for us. And then lastly is develop data analytics and infrastructure to support evidence-based decision-making. We've used that helped us a lot with our student success currently, but we need to use analytics across the life cycle again. How are we studying the applicants who are coming to us in the beginning, and are we making sure, so if we have a ton of applicants who are going into a specific major, do we have the resources in those majors to support them if were they to be admitted? I mean, so that analysis, are there some specific courses that are still a hindrance for students, and we're seeing some deficits that performance deficits that students are seeing. So we need to kind of again evaluate that, and that's going to require some more focus and expansion of how we use analytics in throughout the whole life cycle. So that's a strategy, one of our strategy, and going to be our one of our investment areas. We need to expand our reach. This is a snapshot of our applicant pool for undergraduate from right before our fall term. If you look at this, we recruit from a 50-60 mile. I mean, our students come from a 50-60 mile radius. If you look at it, so Michigan is very highly represented. And then when we look in Michigan, we're talking about 3 or 4 counties. That is not sustainable if we are to see the growth that we need, and just we cannot just depend on this population to help us through and help us continue our mission and continue to meet our goals as an institution. We need to change that. We need to expand across the state. And outside of the state also. It's not going to be in every major, but this is where the target, the segmentation strategies, use my business background here, it would be relevant, because then, for a high, there may be some area in Indiana where art will be attractive for us, and we're going to go and recruit art students to come here. We may get some athletes from some certain schools in Upper Michigan. So that's something that we will be looking at and expanding on, and we already started to put in place mechanisms to really branch out beyond our local market. As we expand beyond our local market, we are still very, very committed to strengthening, to access and strengthening our local connections and our commitment to access and equity. This is who we are as an institution, and that's always going to drive what we do. We are developing and looking at new pathways to support high-need students. With a test optional that we have currently, we have the holistic evaluation that we are doing for admissions. We're transitioning away from the conditional admissions that we've had, and we are looking at students, and as they come to us, we're gonna we are committed to supporting them throughout that life cycle. We are also working on leveraging the positive experience that we have with our community college partners to create pathways for students who may not start with us, or whom we may direct to the community colleges for some of these programs with a clear and fast track back to Wayne State to continue their degree at Wayne, to earn a degree at Wayne State University. So this is something that I think this is a great opportunity for us to really leverage the great connections that we have to support more of our students, particularly again in light of the demographic shifts that are happening locally. And we're, of course, for the students who start with us who are high need, we are going to continue to provide all the support and expand. We have learned a lot over the last several years. And so we're honing down those skills, and we're adding and changing some things. One advantage that I credit the Provost and President for really helping us with is really creating the division of academic student affairs, because now we can really bring all of everything that we do under one umbrella to connect and integrate our efforts and share and work together without having these silos to really ultimately to support the students who come and start at Wayne State University. With that,
would you please define conditional admission real quick? I'm not familiar with that.
So conditional admission, these are some of the students who, for instance, go to Apex, which who don't meet our admission criteria or high need, or historically before who had lower SAT scores before the test optional, when who would have like 14 to 16 ACT scores, who would go to start with Apex and then eventually get into the university if they complete Apex.
So, and a significant portion of these students are students who are immigrants to the Detroit area with English as a second language. So they're starting off like with two strikes against them, with without the academic background and also English as a second language.
Historically, it used to be primarily African American, or a large portion, majority African American. That really has shifted. Now it's a much smaller portion of African American students. It's many immigrants and newcomers to the region.
So the idea here is to have explicit partnerships with the community colleges where the students would start there at a lower fee basis, but they'd also have a connection to Wayne. So we could give them a Wayne ID. They may take one class at Wayne, like the Wayne Experience. They could use our gyms, but they'd be in a different environment, a community college environment that's more appropriate for where they are academically, and we can transition them. Our students that are transferring from the community colleges, we're having real great success rate. So we're trying to take that model here to help these students. Governor Kelly, did you have a question?
More a comment, I'd say. I very much appreciated Vice President Ezzedine, your presentation. I think it's excellent that we have a clear statement like this of goals and strategies. The board needs to hear that you have them, and we need to hear what they are. I do want to say this as a general statement to the staff. I think it's in the best interest of the Board of Governors that we also, in addition to having these aspirational presentations, that we have presentations later following up on them that they go to accountability. I think there's a natural tendency, and a perfectly understandable tendency, for staff not to report to the public and to the board our disappointments. But the Board of Governors must have more than just aspirational presentations. I think we have to have accountability by staff. I think we have to make it possible for staff to tell us where things haven't worked out the way they'd been planned or we'd hoped they would, and tell us why and tell us what they're going to do about it. I don't think staff should be put in the position. We should try to avoid putting staff in the position of feeling defensive at any time about their reports. When we ask a question, staff doesn't have to feel that we're somehow saying you fell short. It could well be that factors have come into play over which staff has no control whatsoever, and the board should hear that. And so I encourage it, and I recognize it's a big ask, but I ask it.
Thank you, Governor Kelly. Absolutely. This is I appreciate your comment and your support on this issue. And that's really our commitment to you, is that we will bring you the good, bad, and ugly, because all of this is going to be, it's a learning experience. I mean, some of these things we're trying. I mean, they may work, they may not, and we're going to make adjustments. Also, a lot of these programs, when we started, they served and they did an amazing job. And like I said, we have had some great strides in student success, in enrollment. But what worked then will have to be evolved and changed because of the circumstances and the landscape and the changes around us, and we need to adjust accordingly. So I wouldn't say, if we're changing a process, it's not that it didn't work, and some of it may not have worked, but also to improve and keep changing in the spirit of continuous and improvement and ability to meet the changes around us and the demands around us.
So in this case, I think also national best practices have changed. So what we're proposing to do with the community colleges is part of what Georgia State has championed with Kellogg funding and has expanded nationally. So rather than have students spend a year on a college campus at college tuition costs before they get to really start college, these are remedial classes, they can start at a community college where they're taking credits towards their 4-year degree from the very beginning. So there is a shift here away from a conditional admits, and it's a shift that's been made nationally as well. And buried in the earlier slides here that Ahmad was giving you, a real emphasis that we want to support students across the 4 or 5 years here, and having a separate conditional admit program where they get one office supporting them for that year, and then they move on to something else, something we're moving away from, and we're trying to do a holistic support of these students across their whole career.
That sounds like a good idea. Other questions?
Governor Bizzuito, I think, has his hand up.
Michael?
Yeah, one of the bullet points says you're going to transition away from conditional admissions. Can you elaborate on that? And what conditions are we going to de-emphasize?
That's what we just talked about, Governor. So currently on the admission criteria, it was based primarily on GPA and ACT and SAT scores, and there are certain students who did not meet those requirements. They were sent to the Apex committee, and they were reviewed there, and they had an interview, and based on that they were admitted conditionally. What we're trying to do is some of those students will just admit regularly, because now we're doing holistic evaluation, and so we're going to try to get them directly into Wayne State, and once they get, we're going to support them from there, so they're not just moving away from, oh, you're an Apex student now, and then move away from that, and just get them into, you're a Wayne State student, and make sure that we provide them with all the support, but also for some of those students who don't meet our who don't make it through that process, we're not telling them now, sorry, you're out. We have, and we're working with our community college partners to provide pathways, and the idea is to work with primary feeders, Macomb, Wayne County, Schoolcraft, Henry Ford, and to provide an accelerated transfer plan, so they may start there with some of the courses they would have probably taken with us. We may give them also some, as the Provost mentioned, one of our intro courses as well while they are there, because we currently have concurrent enrollment with those colleges. So we're using the infrastructure that was developed for, and that we know has been and is working, to really provide them with those alternatives, and candidly at a lower cost. A lot of those students can go there for free with everything that's available to them. And then they can when they want, when they are ready, and we're gonna make again accelerated transfer plan that is faster than the normal transfer that our current students have. They can re-enroll at Wayne State University, and I'll speak later also about something else that we're adding and we're working on currently. That's going through the planning here, and we're gonna go through the faculty approval that we will bring, was really to allow us to transfer, to allow students who are in technical degrees at community colleges to transfer here. Because currently, unless you are in an associate's degree of arts and associate's degree of science, you cannot transfer to Wayne. You know, we don't take the EMT, we don't take the welding. For welding, for instance, we are using Schoolcraft's facilities because they have a brand new system. So those students in that program would be able then to transfer to us and get a bachelor's from Wayne State. But along the way, they can have access to a job, and they can probably go for free for those first year or two.
So will they de-emphasize the grade point average and the test scores?
It will. I mean, I'm sorry. De-emphasize.
In terms of the conditional admissions, we'll de-emphasize the grade point and test scores, because I got to tell you, I don't have a problem with that. I think, we've done it in the med school and it's been successful. You might want to look over there to see the success they've had. And, some kids peak later than others. And I think we need to give most of these kids a chance. And
absolutely. And like I said, we're basing it on the data that we have seen, and we're, with the holistic evaluation and the test optional that we are doing, we're already de-emphasizing the tests anyway, right? We're looking at grades, and we're looking at the full portfolio of the students who are attending Wayne.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley, do you have a question?
Yes, I just want to comment. I see you went back. I was going to say, I know you didn't spend time on talking about deepening community outreach in Detroit, but I will tell you, there are so many organizations who've changed their focus to exactly what we're talking about. I mean, the Coleman Young Foundation is almost 40 years old. They've been doing it for a long time. Diploma Equity Project, Provost Cornblue and I talked about that. Brilliant Detroit. So many organizations that are focusing on exactly what we're talking about, access and completion for students who traditionally have not had that kind of access. So I think it's really, really important that that could be a big part of what we do in terms of changing or expanding really the work that we do around first generation students and students of color.
Absolutely. And thank you. And in light of that, so just as a couple of examples of things we are doing. So we met a couple of weeks ago with the leadership of DPSCD. We are going to have regular meetings, bi-monthly meetings. We're looking now at the inventory of all the services and all the engagements that we have. We are looking at what we have, and they are looking at what they have, and make sure that we have the two kind of congruent. But also, we're putting our wish list of how we want to engage in order to increase the support for DPS students and create more pathways for them to come to Wayne. We had 284 students from DPS last year only. We can do more. Yes. And we want to do more, and we want to get more and support more students. And we want to help also work on some of the issues that the district is facing together. We have some amazing faculty in the College of Education and across campus who could be thought leaders and can work with them on some of these initiatives. So we will continue to do that. We're also working with the community, with Patrick's office, and try to kind of continue to invest in reaching out throughout the community through the interfaith, through the faith centers and community centers to reach parents and see how we can work with them also to help them and to learn of what we need to do to support their students, but also help tell the story about Wayne and how can we engage more of their students and their kids, their learners with us. And as I mentioned already, the building the community colleges, partnerships, and the connections with the surrounding counties. As we all know, the outer ring of Detroit is, I mean, this is where we have a lot of students. Someone I just read recently, I don't know how recent the report was, but Southfield, 94% of their students are African American. So,
and 50% of Detroit students go to inner ring suburb schools too. So that's another thing you have to.
Exactly. So we need, as we look at supporting our underrepresented and African American students and minority students, we need to look at the surrounding areas and increase our outreach and our work with those places. Transfer, again, I'm very passionate about that and about the opportunities that they represent. We have this. I'll jump to this slide. We still, the majority of our students, transfer students, come from the what we call tier 1 colleges, which are Macomb, Wayne, Schoolcraft, Henry Ford, and Washington, and OCC. We need to change that also. I mean, it's been giving us a lot of students, but we need to change that. We think, Michigan has 28 community colleges. We can expand our outreach, and we want to move many of those 28 to make them tier 1 colleges where we can recruit from. We do have currently the largest transfer enrollment in the state. University of Michigan has a larger number in number. However, 72% of their transfers are from other 4-year colleges. So it's not community colleges. We have the largest community college transfer pipeline. And then we're looking at really, so I mentioned earlier the technical pathways that we're investing in, we're exploring and trying to find ways to engage. And this is a response to what's happening at the state level and the investments that the state is making and where students we know are going. Although the overall enrollment was bad last year, it has recovered a little bit at the community colleges, but still more than 150,000 students are in the community college system currently, and we anticipate that that's going to continue to increase. So how can we really create these pathways from certificates, from associate's degrees to Wayne State University so they can continue to work with us? We will do this. We are very careful on not compromising the quality and integrity of our degree. And so we're working with the departments and the schools and colleges on figuring out ways not to kind of minimize the requirements, or the program requirements will not be impacted, but we will provide the flexibility that allows someone who is in some of these major programs to come and transfer and eventually get a Wayne State degree. We are part of a national program which is called the Equity Transfer Initiative with OCC and Jackson College, where we are focused on African American and first gen and adult students in high employment demand majors to transfer from those colleges to Wayne State, and we're providing them wraparound services. We're piloting with those 2 colleges, but the idea is that we will expand that to the network of colleges with whom with which we partner. And then lastly, the international network, we want to continue to expand that because that will provide a pipeline and has provided a pipeline of graduate students. We're going to continue to invest in undergraduate student recruitment, as I mentioned this morning. Summer and short-term programs, that's both a revenue source for us, but also introduction to Wayne State. A lot of these students who come in for a short period, we will introduce them to Detroit and to Wayne State, and usually when we get someone to campus, we hook them. the key is to get them to campus, both actually at the international level and the local level, and that's something we will continue to do. And then once they are here, as we talked this morning, Governor Kelly, we will continue, making sure that their experience and they are taken care of and they are supported throughout their career here is going to be key. This is very important. It makes a huge difference. I started my career as an international student, and I know how important that is. So that's something that we will continue to invest in. With that, happy to take questions or have further discussion.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive, interesting report. Are there other questions?
Governor Thompson has her hand.
Yes, please, Dana.
Thank you, Chair Jackie. So thank you, VP Ezadine, for your this discussion. Really, just great to see all of these different initiatives. One question that I had as you were talking about deepening community outreach in Detroit and some of the partnerships that you have, you talk about pipeline programs, and I'm just wondering how far back they go. Are they just for kids who are in high school or middle school or elementary school? Because it seems that, the younger the kids are, the earlier they're exposed to college and these supports, the more likely that they're going to be able to make it through and then come to Wayne. So that's one question, just, if you go, how deep you go in terms of the education. And then you did mention, understanding that these inner ring suburbs have a high population of Black students and students of color. Also just wondering about outreach to other communities like Ypsilanti or Flint or Saginaw, and what is the strategy to those communities?
Sure. So first on the outreach, absolutely, it does go deeper beyond just the seniors and the juniors. So a lot of our summer K-12 programs are basically targeted at the younger. So we bring in students from middle school and 8th grade and 9th grade. So we have several of those initiatives underway. One thing I did not mention is part of this reorganization under this new division is really to bring in all of these pipeline programs under, also try to kind of bring them together. We have them in colleges, we have them centrally, we have them across campus. And we think and we believe there'll be a lot of value in bringing them together, sharing learning, sharing resources, and expanding and looking where the holes are. So we have programs that are STEM and programs that are in arts, but there may be something else that we are not serving that we need to invest in. So having that inventory and bringing all these programs to coordinate better would get us that, and that's something that we're going to continue to invest in. The summer programs particularly, and we bring them, our marketing communication and several of schools and colleges, we have the STEM day that we have, and we bring in thousands of students here from across the region, and a lot of them are younger students. So programs like that will continue, and the goal is really to expand on them. As far as the outreach to the other suburbs, also that's certainly part of the plan, not just for on the transfer side, but across. We're working with David and his team, and through our financial aid office, we're trying to figure out, for instance, how do we change? Can we use scholarships a little bit more strategically? A kid from Ypsilanti or a kid from Flint may be interested in a housing scholarship more so than someone from Sterling Heights. Can we offer them, and how can we package that and make sure we offer some of those scholarships to those students to make sure that when they come here, they come to the city. Grand Rapids has a large, African American community. Our colleagues from Grand Rapids, Grand Valley are here, very aggressive in the Detroit area. Well, I think we can be in there, up there as well, and we want to do that. And so we want to really tailor and look at what are those opportunities, and we think we can. We have something great to offer. We have great programs. We have a great campus. We have a great city. And it will be appealing to students, and we want to help them get here and help them launch their career after.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question for VP Azzedine. Ahmad, thank you very much for the excellent presentation and the hard work that you're doing. I really especially enjoy the energy, the ideas, and the enthusiasm that you have and you portray. Makes me feel already that we are on an upward scale towards success in the field that you're involved in. I do have a question with respect to international students. The one great problem that most international students have is getting visas. And I know Senator Peters is with the Homeland Security. Are there any discussions, conversations, how we could facilitate our Wayne State applicants to a more quicker and definitive way to getting these visas, so we can have both students that we can have, and at the same time enjoy the diversity that we definitely have in our mission?
Absolutely. We are advocating. Actually, there's several advocacy initiatives on this issue with our local delegation, congressional delegation, and nationally. So we're working with NAFSA and some of the national organizations on this matter. And we work with James in our governmental affairs in Washington to address some of these issues. And some of these efforts actually are what led to the recent change in the practical training that I mentioned this morning, expanding that window of work opportunity for international students. The visas, unfortunately, in certain countries, there are some of the travel restrictions that are still causing, and the restrictions, the local restrictions that have prevented the visa issuing. There is one change, though, that the Biden administration approved because of a lot of the advocacy that happened here, is for students, they waived the interview requirement for students, which was, as you know, is a big deal. A lot of students cannot get to the embassy, and it takes a long time to go to schedule that appointment and be able to go. So the Biden administration waived it, and it has resulted in students actually getting visas and being able to travel. And that's why we saw, that's why we saw some, our numbers in the fall, and we had a decent number even this winter come in. We are also working with folks on the ground. So in India, for example, we have a recruiter. We work with a recruiter on the ground, and that recruiter has access and is in constant contact with all of our applicants and the students who are admitted. So now we have intelligence on who is getting an appointment, if they need one, or who is getting their visa and who isn't, which is something that we never had before. But we are able then to support, and in certain cases, we cannot advocate on behalf of an individual, but overall we can talk about the need to change policies or be more flexible, and that's something we constantly do. I am on the board of directors of NAFSA, which is the international organization for international students, and we do a lot of advocacy. We have actually in February also an event with in Congress. It's going to be virtual this year, where we go and meet with the congressional delegations and tell them about our interests and our wish list, basically. And that's something that will continue to be top of mind.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dana Thompson, do you have a question?
No, I had my hand up earlier, so I already
Oh,
asked.
no, that's fine. Anyone else?
I think Governor Bonner has his hand.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Yeah, VP Azadine, I just wanted to commend you for a very thoughtful presentation, and I really appreciate the level of strategic emphasis placed on this very important issue. And just in general, it's looking like 2022 is going to be a great year for Wayne State. We keep getting updates like this.
Thank you. We are gonna do our best to make it that.
Thank you. So we're cutting into your lunch hour. We have 3 action items. Mr. Provost, if you're ready, would you please talk to us about establishing a joint MD, medical doctor, and MBA, Masters of Business Administration program?
Yes, thank you. And thanks for your attention and engagement with that long presentation of our enrollment management. It's really important to our future. I think we are on the right path. As our CFO cautioned, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of figuring out. In his slide, it showed that we spend $99 million on financial aid. We need data analytics. We need to figure out how to spend that money best to support student success and best to support more students coming here. So there's a lot of work to come, but I think we're on the right path. So we already talked to you, I think, informally about the establishment of a joint MD, MBA. Now we're asking for formal approval, and Dean Mark Schweitzer is with us, and he initiated this. So I'm going to turn this over to Mark.
Okay. Thank you, Provost. And as we were speaking earlier about the need to attract more students, not just to the undergraduate and other graduate programs, but to the medical school as well. Obviously, we have no shortage of applicants to the medical school, but we aspire to be a top 30 or top 40 medical school and attain a higher quality set of applicants, and particularly a more diverse set of applicants. And we're starting several programs to try and make Wayne State more appealing as a medical school and differentiated from some of our peers as well as aspirational peers. There's about 50 to 60 medical schools in the country that have combined MD and MBA programs. This proposal is to do it in 4 years, of which there is only one other program in the country that does that. It does that by having 9 of the credits for the MD degree count with the MBA degree. And it consists of both synchronous and asynchronous education, that the students can do the asynchronous education during their obviously limited time off from the main medical school curriculum, but during breaks and weekends, etc. Obviously, it's only for those students who want to do this. But we believe, and the pandemic, I think, has reinforced that belief, that there's a certain percentage of students who aspire not only to leadership, but to lead in a way where they understand the finances of the healthcare system. And we all agree that there's an urgent need for people to be both conversant in economics and finances, as well as the science of medicine. So this has passed through. I can go through all the stages that it has already passed through in terms of the university requirements. Let me get to that page in a second. It's in your handouts. And this is for formal approval by the board. And I'm happy to take questions about it, but it's already been approved by the Graduate Education Policy Committee, the Faculty Senate, the Academic Assembly, and Dean of the Mike Lewis School of Business, the School of Medicine Faculty Senate, myself as the Dean of the School of Medicine, the Graduate Council, and the Dean of the Graduate School, as well as Provost Coleman.
So before I ask for a motion, my understanding is, let me make sure I've got this right. The business school actually offers the classes. The School of Medicine is responsible for marketing and finding the students. And our admissions office, our current admission office, is engaged in admitting the students through that actual process. Do I have that correct?
90%. So
well, that's good
they
for
will
me
be
then.
admitted. They would be admitted to the medical school, and then they would apply to the business school. The business school would then, once they matriculated, to the medical school. And the medical school wouldn't provide education, but will provide academic and emotional support due to the stresses that would be involved in having 2 degrees concurrently in the normal time it would take to complete degree. But we do think there'll be 10 to 20 or so students who are ambitious and intense who would want to do this. And hopefully those would be 10 or 20 students who would have gone to Case West at the University of Michigan without access to this program.
Yep. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Oh, no? Going once? Okay. We'll need a motion to accept this and establish this program. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
And thank you. Moved and supported. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Governor Gaffney, I am so sorry. I did not get the maker of the motion.
You know, I was going to stop and ask you, but
It was me.
I'm sorry, Julie, that's my fault. Who
It
made
was
the
me.
motion and who made the second, please?
I was the motion. Professor Roth.
Professor
Thanks.
Roth, thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, and I did hear plenty of ayes. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go back to the provost to talk about a name change for the Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education.
Yes, so this
Let me
is,
just add, can I just end by thanking the board,
Oh,
specifically
of
thanking
course.
the dean and the administration of the business school for being so cooperative in helping us to plan this program, and the provost for helping to facilitate.
It's an example where we broke through a couple of silos, so we're very pleased about that.
in record time. Okay, the next item is a name change of the program in elementary education, and Associate Provost Darren Ellis is here to present that with support from the College of Education. Darren?
Hi, nice to see you all here today. So we are recommending that the Board of Governors change the name of the Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education to the Bachelor of Science in Early and Elementary Education effective fall term 2022. Basically, the current degree title doesn't fully express the range of options available to the student, and the students can actually add the early education endorsement on top of the elementary certification. So the program thinks that this is an attractive feature of the program, and they want to make it kind of more out front. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to entertain them. And we also here have Kate Roberts, who's from the Division of Teacher Education, and she can answer questions as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Will this get our students ready in case the federal government does in fact fund pre-K education?
Kate, please jump in.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So in the past, the state of Michigan has always added the early childhood endorsement onto an elementary education license, which is why our program previously was an elementary education with the option to add an early childhood endorsement. The state, I think, is preparing to be ready for that. They don't require certification for teachers below kindergarten. They prefer it in many of the programs. They're transitioning towards it for preschool, but not in the birth to 3 range. But with the potential funding that's coming down the line, it's likely to be tied to having high quality programs, which seems pretty reasonable. And so the state is moving towards, for the first time, certifying from birth to K, as opposed to starting at the pre-K level. The early childhood endorsement has always been birth to age 8, but it wasn't required by the state if you were teaching in a birth to 3 or a pre-K classroom.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? So we're looking for a motion to make that name change to be ready for the future.
So move.
That was moved by Michael Basuito. Is there a second?
Support.
That's Shirley.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Provost, discontinuance of the Bachelor of Science in Electric Transportation Technology.
Okay, I will turn this back over to Associate Provost Ellis again.
Great. So we are recommending that the Board of Governors discontinue the Bachelor of Science in Electric Transportation Technology in the program in the Division of Engineering Technology, effective fall 22. Pardon my tongue-tiedness. So basically, this program just never quite took off. It was created in 2011 with as part of a portfolio of programs as part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. The master's program and the certificate has done well. Basically, the students that were targeted for this particular 2+2+2 pathway, it seems that most of them preferred to pursue immediate employment upon completion of their technical associate's degree. And the job market has been good enough for people in that field that the prospect of staying in school longer just hasn't really been attractive. So there are many offerings in the College of Engineering around the general topic of electrification, of transportation and mobility. And many students pursue this industrial area through those other degrees in electrical engineering technology, mechanical engineering technology. And this particular combination just didn't quite work out, I think, like people were expecting. Here to answer questions with me is Professor H.A. Yaprak, and she is the chair of the Division of Engineering Technology.
Questions, please. So we often have a set of questions. Are there any students left behind? Have we got committee approval, faculty, senate, the department? Is all that in place?
Yes, it is. So it went through the normal faculty governance processes. There have been no students in the program for a number of years, and it is essentially defunct at this point. Like I said, students interested in this topical area are actively pursuing it in the other degree offerings that we have.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions, then may I please have a motion to discontinue that program?
So moved.
That's
Been
a rough.
moved. And is there support?
Support.
Did you get someone there, Julie? They were actually.
Yeah, Governor Stincato. Got it.
Thank you. Last chance for comment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it to discontinue BS in electrical transportation. Mark, is that the end of that? I show that as the end of your agenda. Do you show that as the end?
Yes, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. If there's no further business to come before the Academic Affairs Committee, we'll be adjourned President Wilson, would you like to lead us to lunch?
Yeah, let me just say that the board will be in recess and will reconvene at 3:30 for the public board meeting. And have a